Welcome to Fit After 40, the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Kinsey here, certified personal trainer and menopause coaching specialist. I've worked with hundreds of clients over the past 12 years and know firsthand how intimidating starting a fitness routine can be, especially in perimenopause. My goal is to teach women in midlife and beyond how to feel strong and confident in their bodies and to help them live the healthy life they deserve, free of pain, heart disease, dementia, frailty, you name it. In this show, you'll get action steps you can take today, backed by the most up-to-date research and thousands of hours of practical in-gym experience. The best time to get started may have been 20 years ago, but the second best time to get started is today. Hello, and welcome to Fit After 40 Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Your host, Kinsey here, so stinking excited to be back with you on the pod. Now, I say back with you because while my last couple weeks I've been releasing episodes, as you know, if you've listened to them, I recorded them in the past. But I personally have been oot and a boot in the world doing all things wedding. So yes, margarita definition, make the boys go loco, and I are officially married. It was the best day ever. Shout out to both our folks for making it possible. My mom literally did like all the decorations. His parents played a huge role in helping us pull it off. It just big thanks. My dad was putting up with all of us through it. Just kidding. He was also incredibly helpful. Everyone just came together and it was the least stressful, chillest, most wonderful day. And another huge shout out. I knew everyone says like my wedding was the best day of my life. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, you love each other. Yay. Yay. But honestly, as far as I can remember, it was. And that's coming from a very good life. It's just getting to have all of our families together, our closest friends flying in from all around the country and family from all around the world. There's really no other time that I can think of except for like another family member's wedding. But for our families, there's no other time in our lives probably that will ever have a reason to get everyone together like that. And that alone, just like surrounded by all of your nearest and dearest, it really makes you kind of pause and realize, you know what, looking at all these folks who I love and who love us unconditionally, like if this is as good as life gets, it is freaking awesome. And that's definitely one thing the older I get. I think in my 20s and early 30s, there was a lot of like career chasing. And in my 20s when I was doing acting, like fame chasing, there was all these external things. And yes, family is external, but when you surround yourself with love and then you look around and you realize that everyone in this room is someone that you would want to spend time with and has touched your life and you've touched their life in such special ways, like that's really what life is about. And that becomes more and more clear to me the older I get. So it was just one of the most special things that we got to share it with everyone. And of course, Marcus was the most handsome. I did post about 87,000 times on Instagram at kinsey.does.the.fitness. So definitely go check it out if you're like, what is she? What tell me more about a wedding? Because I did. This is also a very exciting podcast because I'm recording this. We've literally been gone for almost 2 weeks, just doing wedding stuff and being with family. We have a day today. It's Tuesday the 28th. And then we leave tomorrow to go to one of my nearest and dearest friends' weddings in New Hampshire. But today we are doing a podcast because on top of it kind of popping up because I got some really good listener questions and I'm super excited to talk about them and they're really, really timely. I also wanted to hop on here. By the time this goes live tonight, Tuesday the 28th, is the Menopause and Muscle webinar. I cannot wait. I've done this workshop in person a few times and I'm super excited to do it online so that we can have access to even more folks. I hope it goes so well. It has in the past. It's just a super fun way to take care of our bodies. But now, the time of this release, hello future everyone, it's the 29th of October that this releases, and we still have a really big, exciting action step on the horizon. The first round of cohorts for Fit After 40 small group personal training launch officially on November 3rd, and there are going to be 4 different cohorts that I am running. 3 of them are going to be in person in the Twin Cities based out of St. Paul. And one of them is going to be sort of like a beta test to see how it goes online. So if you're not in the Twin Cities or not really close to St. Paul, you can check out that online. Definitely check it out in the show notes. It goes live on the 29th. So sign up officially begins. There are already spots that are getting taken up because I've been doing these these workshops. And every time I run a workshop, I offer the program. So I cap Fit After 40 at 6 people because, again, the goal for me when I am working with clients, I want to keep that energy of small group. I also believe that community is one of, like I said, the wedding community is one of the most critical parts of our health that I think is really under discussed. So having a group of like-minded women who are exploring strength training or fresh to it or newly back, who are in the same place as you and who are looking to take care of their health, there is nothing to me that's more motivational and inspirational than surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are doing those hard dial movers and making choices to take care of themselves. Because for most of us, the majority of women that I work with in one-on-one setting, they're coming up from a place where maybe their husband or partner doesn't really care too much about like getting into fitness, or maybe they're just not ready. They're making all these big decisions on their own. Their friend group is not really interested, so they feel really isolated, and it can feel like a real slog. We actually did a podcast on this recently about how to get your family on board, and spoiler, you probably can't. One of the big things that you can do, however, is choose to surround yourself with people who are focusing on doing the same things you are, and there is so much power in that. So keeping that small group aspect was a non-negotiable for me. However, the trick when you get into large group format, and we've talked about this a lot in the past, is there's a twofold. One, there's simply not enough time as a trainer to ensure that you are giving your clients the appropriate attention they need to build foundations for better movement into forever. Movement patterns that move both safely so we don't injure ourselves, especially as we're getting older, because that's the number one fear for a lot of older clients. And you're not wasting your time, right? Because remember, as much of a 1/4 inch turnout at your toe affects everything from your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hip, your low back, your shoulders, your neck. Just the tiniest out of alignment movement, suddenly you're moving incorrectly, muscles are firing incorrectly, and you're setting yourself up for improper movement patterns, imbalanced skeleton outside of the gym, and injury down the line. So to me, when we have 6 people or less, you are able to not only have the effect of training with a group and building that community, you also get the personalized one-on-one attention of a personal trainer. So that online cohort, that is going to be live meetings on Zoom. I have trained a lot of women on Zoom one-on-one. You'll have your camera on. I will be adjusting your form as if we are in person. So this is designed to be a continuous program. Cancel at any time. However, your first 3 months, you are committing to a 3-month program, because in those first 3 months, I am guaranteeing that you walk away from Fit After 40 small group personal training knowing exactly how to move through the most fundamental movement patterns. Go check out episode 9, or I can't remember the episode number, but it's Are You Hitting These 9 Essential Exercises Every Single Week. You'll know exactly how to move through those safely and how to progressive overload them. And you will know exactly what and how to train to continue to build and maintain muscle for a lifetime. So you are learning. It's an education as much as it is a workout. After that 3 months, like I said, you are free to go pursue whatever you'd like to pursue with your new knowledge. And of course, what I hope is that most of you end up just loving your cohort so much and enjoy working with me that you stay on for as long as time permits. That's usually how my personal training works. We always start with that 3-month commitment because we do month 1, stabilization, endurance. We start to correct muscle imbalances. We start to build balance into your training and into your day-to-day life. And we start teaching you the foundations of those squats, those hinges, those lunges, those presses, so that you're moving safely. Month 2, we start to build muscle endurance. So now we're focusing on adding heavier weights in more stable positions, and then challenging that muscle with an unstable position. So we're continuing to increase balance challenges while starting to train your muscles to move under load. And then that 3rd month, we really deep dive into the style of training that now will build and maintain muscle. So with my personal training clients, that's exactly how we do it. They all start with those 3 months. So they leave guaranteed to have a strong sense of both how to continue, but also they've felt and seen results in their body and in the way they move. They've built confidence. They've built muscle mass. They've generally at that point, you start to see some body comp changes as well. But most importantly, they know what they're doing. And I have yet to have a client who gets to that 3-month point and goes, okay, well, I'm done now. Generally, they're hooked. There's just something fun about working together. So definitely check out the show notes. Like I said, because they're all capped at 6 spots a piece, they're filling up pretty quick. If you're in person, the 7 a.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, and the 8 on Saturday is already down to just, I think, 2 or 3 spaces at the time of this recording. So definitely look into it. If this is something you are into, sign up now. Do not miss your chance. If you have questions, shoot me an email, kinsey@fitafter40.info. Wow, my brain just farted. kinsey@fitafter40.info. Or you can hit me up on Instagram at kinsey.does.the.fitness. But that goes live today. We start our cohorts on the 3rd. Hit me up with questions, or if this is something that you have been kicking around in your mind and you're like, I should really just do it, pull the trigger. Commit to yourself. I cannot say this enough. Whatever you choose to do down the line, I'm so in supportive, but getting started the right way is the make or break for lifelong fitness, lifelong health, and longevity. Don't waste your time. You're too precious. Check it out. So anyway, that is why on this one day between an 18-hour road trip and a flight to Boston the next day, we're on the mic chit-chatting together. So for today's topic, I thought it would be fun. As I've been running these workshops, I've been getting a lot of really good questions. And over the next several podcasts, I'll start peppering them in. But there were 2 that came in just within the last week, and I thought they were pretty darn good. I thought they were outstanding questions, but pretty good double team for, sound like an awful thing to say. They're a pretty good bang for this particular episode. So the 2 questions, the first one, a woman wrote to me on my email, kinsey@fitafter40.info. Boy, oh boy, can I just tell you, getting emails from you, ? Is my favorite thing. Keep them coming. Hit me up. There's no question too small. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I promise you, if you have a question, somebody else does too. So her question, I don't have it pulled up because I'm still getting used to this question format. She had, essentially, there was a type of Pilates that was being targeted to her on her social media platforms. It just kept coming up. I hadn't heard of the specific style of Pilates, but she was wondering if this particular program was something that could build muscle. So it was about 15 to 30 minutes a pop. I ended up looking it up, and it was a type of Pilates that looks like it starts you on the wall. But I think the overall question, which I'm going to approach today, is, can I build muscle with Pilates? So that's going to be our first one. Our second one is, can I lift with low back pain? This came up. This woman was actually in her mid-20s, and she was talking about how she knew that she, quote unquote, needed to be strength training, but she was afraid to get started because she has chronic low back pain and is worried about injuring herself, which heard, sister. So 2 really good questions that tie into the webinar we're having tonight, Tuesday, the menopause and muscle webinar, and into why Fit After 40 is literally why I designed Fit After 40. A, to teach people the right way to start strength training, and B, to hopefully clear up the confusion around what builds muscle. We've talked about it here before, but spoiler, it is a very specific, singular type of exercise for the most part that can help us build muscle. So without further ado, let's hop in, shall we? So overarching question, can Pilates build muscle? The short answer, nah. Sadly, no, it cannot. It doesn't long term. But I want to qualify this, right? Because as always, it's not that cut and dry. What I told this woman, thank you so much, by the way, for reaching out. I cannot, again, express how much I love hearing this from you. I love hearing from you guys. it's a bigger topic, and we've talked about this before. So the first thing I want to hit on is newbie gains are a real thing. Newbie gains just mean that you are someone who is newer or freshly back, generally with like in 6 months or more of having worked out last, where your body, because it hasn't been doing a particular stimulus, and that can be really any sort of physical activity, your body, when done consistently, will start to respond favorably to activity. And when we begin something like Pilates or yoga or running or dance or whatever the case may be, initially we start to see some adaptations in our body composition generally, because we're doing something that it's never done before. So that is enough stimulus at the beginning to create changes within our body. However, once we are more conditioned, once we've been training for a while, sometimes for some of us that's 3 months, sometimes that's 6 months, sometimes when you're looking at like a group fitness setting, because remember the majority of group fitness tend to be more endurance based just because there's a very specific stimulus that builds muscle. It can be as long as like 3 years, and suddenly people are like, whoa, 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 everything has plateaued. But you'll notice that there comes a time where we plateau on the ability to build muscle and we plateau on body comp changes. And that's just the case with Pilates. The reason being, remember that muscle build happens, muscle maintenance happens when we are challenging a specific muscle group and taking it to a point of failure. So we're just 1 to 2 reps outside of not being able to do one more rep. Then we give a very specific amount of rest for hypertrophy, which is that muscle build. It's about 30 to 60 seconds. And then we repeat that exercise. You can, of course, do this in supersets. So you could do something like a chest press into a low back row. You could do even a tricep, chest press into a low back row, into like an overhead press if you really needed to for time. But then you'd want to sort of limit your rest. The goal is to really fatigue that muscle and bring it to the point where it goes, oh, snap. Something's got to change in order for me to move more weight. And then over a lifetime, remember you do the same exercises, the prime movers, for about 4 to 6 weeks, trying to progressive overload. So progressive overload can look like adding more weight. It can look like taking away a little bit of the rest sometimes. It can look like adding reps. So if you have just one set of dumbbells, that point of fatigue might start at 12 reps and then eventually be 15 reps and eventually be 20 reps. It could look like adding more sets. So instead of doing 3 rounds of 12 goblet squats, now you do 4 rounds of 12 goblet squats. So you want to be able to progressively overload those movements to continue to challenge and raise that stimulus for your muscles. If you are continually for months doing 10-pound curls, 12 10-pound curls 3 times, eventually your body is going to be proficient at that and have no reason to adapt. Things like Pilates, for example, are very good at building muscular endurance. So this is the other thing. When we're talking about exercise outside of aiming to build and maintain muscle, which is what we have to do as we age, we just have to keep muscle on our frame. If you're not sure why that is, check out pretty much any other episode in this podcast. But when we're talking about exercises that don't do that, like I said, most of them, that doesn't mean that these exercises don't have major benefits. And this is what I was telling the women. So a woman who asked this question, outside of having newbie gains, so if she was just like, she was feeling really drawn to this program, she was just curious about it, she would absolutely see benefits to starting this program for a little while. And Pilates in general has benefits that can be super beneficial to your strength training, super beneficial to movement in general. A couple things that I really love about Pilates and yoga, things like muscle endurance. Pilates especially, you're doing a lot of holds, you're doing a lot of pulses, you're doing a lot of really micro muscle movements. So you're challenging your muscles to work under load, sometimes under body weight, sometimes which can be load, for extended periods of time. That really pays off. Again, month 1 of Fit After 40, we're building that similar kind of endurance. Pilates also is very good, when taught correctly, at creating mind-body connection, which, remember, the majority of exercise outside of hypertrophy, which is that muscle build, is training your nervous system to move. So when you are doing Pilates with a good coach, they're really teaching you how to feel and purposefully fire certain muscles, how to feel and purposefully brace through your core. So you're really enhancing potentially your movement literacy, which then when you transfer it into a strength training setting, if you have control over those limbs, over the way that you move, that's going to pay off tenfold because you'll know you're moving safely. Again, really good for building that core strength as well. And the other thing that I really like, and especially this particular one she sent me because there was incorporating of walls and such, was that there was lovely attention to balance, which we've talked about a ton on this podcast, why that's important in general. But as we age, again, Fit After 40, our first month is tackling most of these things, or all of these things, right? We're tackling muscle endurance, we're tackling balance, and we're tackling setting up strong foundations. So with a good coach, you're pretty much doing month 1 of Fit After 40 just through a Pilates lens. That's what I want, a Pilates lens. However, that's kind of where the buck stops. You can continue to get better at Pilates, and you can continue to reap benefits of that muscular endurance, and you can continue to work core strength. There's a lot of things that you can continue to improve on, but there's never the progressive overload you need to stimulate muscle growth. So there is a cap to how long that works for muscle growth, and it's pretty short because a lot of times in those classes, obviously reformers are pretty intense, but even those, the load caps at a certain weight. So the takeaway from this is the blanket, like TLDR, whatever, too long don't read. No, Pilates doesn't build muscle for a lifetime. The longer, more nuanced version is at first you're going to see body composition changes or feel stronger in your body. There are definitely benefits outside of muscle build that Pilates provides. And just like every other style of fitness, if you're safe doing it, I'm not telling you not to do it. So that's what I told her too. I was like, try this 3 to 6 months. And then when you're ready, start to build in that strength training. And if you love Pilates, keep it, right? When we're talking about strength training over a lifetime, as we get started, we only need 2 days of strength training. So she could do 2 days of strength training and 1 to 2 days of Pilates. Eventually, we're going to want to find that 3 to 4 days of strength training. But even then, you could keep 1 day of Pilates, maybe even 2 if it's a sort of a gentler practice. So the point is, no, it does not build muscle, but just because it doesn't build muscle doesn't mean it doesn't have other benefits. And if you love to do it, keep it in your life. But if it's something that you're doing to build and support muscle, I would recommend, and you're not like, oh, I just love Pilates, it makes me light up inside, then don't waste your money and get a coach and learn how to lift weights. Okay. But I love that. I love that. And like I said, end of day, we just want this to be fun. So if it's something that looks really fun and it gets your foot sort of in the door to movement, namaste, sister. Just like I said, 3 to 6 to 12 months down the road, come see me and we can chit chat about getting you strength training. And if Fit After 40 small group personal training feels like a little too big of a leap right now, I do always have that free downloadable guide of free beginner's guide to strength training in perimenopause and beyond. The other thing about this particular Pilates program that I do want to mention, and I feel this way about all DIY products, and it's why I don't have one that I offer. I don't really sell any more do-it-yourself workout programs because I am a strong believer, as we know, that form is everything. And if we are going to be getting started in fitness, I encourage everyone from the depths of my soul to book like 4 sessions at the very least with a personal trainer who can teach you how to move and what to do to practice moving. There is no DIY program that has a coach teaching you to move. So same with all those wonderful apps out there. It's awesome if you're motivated enough that an app works for you. That's one thing for me. I just don't feel motivated when it's a computer screen. Marcus is really good at going off of his app. He has a trainer he works with who just programs, and he's great at it. Marcus has also been training for a really long time, so he moves really well. But if you're new to the space, I cannot emphasize enough the value in hiring a professional to teach you how to move correctly at the beginning. It doesn't have to be a lifetime thing, just initially. Again, that's why Fit After 40 is designed as a 3-month starter kit to get you moving and grooving and open the door for a lifetime of doing whatever the heck you want. Okay. The second question. So shout out to that listener for asking. I cannot thank you enough. Awesome question. Definitely a lot of people out there who are going to have the same question because I've heard it a lot. I've definitely had people come in to work out with me who have mentioned that they've done Pilates in the past and plateaued, or just for whatever reason, it didn't, mostly it's the plateau. A lot of times too, it's that it's very expensive, but that's neither here nor there. So next up, can I strength train if I'm injured? This person in particular was talking about a low back injury. Again, let's do blanket statement first. So TLDR, yeah, you absolutely can. And now the more nuanced version. And I got to start with this first. As always, huge disclaimer, work with your doctor. If you have chronic pain, please, please, please go see a PT or your general practitioner, ideally probably a physical therapist. Get clearance on what you can and cannot do. And more importantly, one of the best part about working with a physical therapist, even if you're like me and really bad at doing your PT, they will tell you what the issue is. So you'll know exactly which muscle or part of your body is perhaps misbehaving, is underactive, is injured, etc. That way, when you come and work with a trainer like me or a trainer that you trust, you can tell them exactly what your PT relayed to you. Most of us, people who have been in the industry for a long time, in theory, are highly certified. That's part of being a trainer. That's definitely one thing when you're hiring, ask for certifications and continuing education. But we are not physical therapists. So we have no right. That's the other thing. If you have a trainer who is trying to prescribe movements, who is trying to give you a breakdown of what's going on in your body, basically acting like a doctor, run the other way. Unless they are a physical therapist also, we are not certified to do that. So I always send out to a physical therapist and then have them bring me back what's going on. Because once I have that information, I know how to better help you. And if there's anything contraindicated where your doctor says, don't do this right now, we can factor that in, right? So we work as a team here. So first things first, if it's chronic, definitely go to your doc. The next piece is, and we've talked about this before, but this is what I told her. And if it's your first time to the podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. One of the cool things about movement is a lot of times, okay, let me back up even more. Yes, you can, but the approach is different than we think. So a lot of times, she was mentioning things like squatting and Bulgarian split squats, presses, etc. All great movements. Not great movement if you're brand spanking new and you have a low back pain. Not a great movement if you're brand spanking new, period, because your body has never learned how to move in that capacity. That, again, is another huge reason that I created Fit After 40 small group personal training. One, because there needs to be more education and training specifically tailored to women traveling through that menopause transition, whether in your 20s and 30s preparing for it, 30s, 40s, 50s going through it, or 50s, 60s and beyond now living in this new hormonal body. There needs to be education and awareness around it. The second piece, there are no good programs on the market right now, including the majority, actually I'd say all group fitness, that are tailored to a beginner and teaching us how to move fundamentally at the beginning. When you work with a trainer who teaches you how to move, they will teach you how to move in a way that moves you safely, where you don't feel pain. And if there's something that feels wrong or kind of scary, you tell them, and we're able to make adjustments in real time. So we start with where you're at, and the entire journey, we continue to check in and make sure that you are moving safely. If you're on your own, obviously things get a little more precarious. I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in strength training, even if it's not Fit After 40 small group personal training, if you have chronic pain, see your doctor and then hire a trainer, at least for the beginning, so that they can help you build a program that helps to strengthen underactive muscles and lengthen and relax muscles that are overactive, and also teach you foundations. Maybe like a month to 3 months, definitely recommend. But that's where we dive into the 3 S's that we talked about last week. Solid core, stabilization and balance, strong foundation. And if you're interested in learning more about that, check out last week's podcast. But if you have pain, you can absolutely still start training if your doctor says so. And most people, 100%. It just is going to look different than what we think it is. And that's why we work with a professional. We start and we build your foundation. And a lot of times we see, for most people, especially with low back pain, that pain actually starts to minimize as we start to move our body more. And that could even be starting as soon as getting more steps in your day. A lot of pain comes from living a more sedentary lifestyle inside of a beautiful body that was designed to be movement oriented. Our ancestors were nomadic, right? They were constantly hunting, gathering, moving around, squatting, sitting without chairs. Our skeletons are meant to move. So as we moved into this environment that holds us in these unnatural positions, we start to have these muscle imbalances. We start to have this shift in the way that our muscles stack. In that way, a lot of times our spines can start to take a lot of compression in ways they weren't supposed to over long periods of time. So the implementation of movement, I've seen it time and again, where even after like 4 to 6 weeks, people are noticing that certain aches and pains are diminishing, because a lot of what we do too in month 1 is fix our posture, because you can't possibly squat or hinge like a deadlift if your posture is off. We need to make sure that our skeleton is moving optimally. So it's pretty darn cool. I worked with a woman a couple years ago when I was training online, and she had the most chronic mid-back pain. She had gone to all the PTs, she'd done all the acupuncture, all the things. Pretty much she was just told, like, you got to learn how to manage the pain, and that's going to be your life. She was in her early 30s and was just sort of like, she threw her hands up. We started working together, and she's like, hey, just so you know, like, I've had this chronic back pain my whole life. There's nothing you can do about it. It's been there forever. And I was like, great. And in my mind, I was like, let's see about this. Couple of different things. We started her off with strengthening her core, her low core. So we started to build in, she had a really pretty severe anterior pelvic tilt. So low back was compressed. Front of her core was really elongated. So we just gently started working on things like dead bugs, started building that in breath work, building that pelvic floor connection. We started working on balance, where her body was forced to align in a way that would hold her up without falling over. And another really big thing that we started doing was building in mobility through her hips, and then bringing mobility into her thoracic spine. And I'm not talking like crazy yoga routines. I'm talking like on your back, figure 4, hip circles, thread the needles, things that just started gently bringing movement into her more mobile pieces, like her hips, which are a ball and socket joint, and that thoracic spine. But throughout her lifetime, because she was sitting at work or at school, they were never able to move. And about 6 weeks in, she wrote to me and was like, I just woke up this morning and realized that I haven't felt pain in a week. And it stayed that way. We worked together pretty much until, well, not pretty much. We worked until I went offline to manage Orange Theory. And every once in a while, she'd have flare-ups. They were usually tied to stress or if we hadn't worked out in a while. But for the most part, when she was moving her body and when she was strengthening her back, that was the other thing. We did a lot of work strengthening through her rhomboids, through her lats. We started to build up her back line. When we were really staying on top of starting to rebuild her muscles and continue bringing movement into her life, she, for the first time ever, after having gone through years of pretty much throwing up her hands and saying, this is who I am now, was feeling less and less to no pain. And I'm not saying it's a full guarantee, but I am saying that that's not the first time that's happened. That was just one of the most intense cases. And I think we underestimate as a society. I think we're starting to learn better and better, but I think unless you're in this field, we really underestimate how much movement is medicine, how it is such an integral part of our life. And again, that could be as simple as today, just try to get some more steps in. Because if you think about it, when we walk, our arms and legs swing opposite of each other. We have a slight rotation in our trunk and hip. We're stacking shoulders on top of hips. Our eyes are up. Our shoulders are down and back. It just is helping to realign our skeleton. So that was a very long way to say, if I'm injured, if I have chronic pain, can I work out or am I doomed? The answer is absolutely yes. Just be mindful of your approach. And the thing is, I don't want to say that we're starting at an advantage if we're in pain, but we are going to be a lot more cautious and we're going to pay a lot more attention to how we're moving when we have chronic pain than people who come in without chronic pain, because there's just not that fear response to it. We're not as aware when something kind of goes off in our body and we're like, oh crap. So part of it too is training like what is muscle soreness and what is pain. So it's just kind of relearning. But the one advantage you have is that you're much more in your body than a lot of people when they first come in. So it is so hard when we feel pain. It is so hard when we have debilitating pain, when we lose access to things that we used to have access to. It can feel really emotional. We can feel kind of like our body is letting us down, that we don't trust it. So if you have a lot of big feels that come up around that, you are not alone. Do not be hard on yourself. Give yourself time, but know you are absolutely able to. And you always have permission, whether you're working with Fit After 40, small group personal training, or with someone else, whether it's in a group fitness setting, because that's what time and money permit, or if you've hired a trainer. If something doesn't feel good, even if you're like, oh, I don't want him to like be disappointed, or I don't want this to be like a regression, say it. Say it. Because when you say it, it lets us know so we can make adjustments or we can work through what's going on. So you are your best advocate, and that's with everything we do. All right, team. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to sit down with you next week, coming to you live from the officially launched Fit After 40 Small Group Personal Training November 2025 small group cohorts. Again, signups are open the day of this release, which is today, Wednesday, the 29th of October. They run through the end of this week, November 2nd. Spots have already started to fill up because of the workshop. So if you're like, I really should, I've been thinking about this for a while, commit. Worst case scenario, you get through 3 months, you hate me, and then you're on your own, but at least you know you can move better. Go check it out. Reach out with any questions, Kinsey at fitafter40.info or Instagram, kinsey.does.the.fitness. I'm so stinking proud of y'all. Have a beautiful week, and I hope to see some of you in the gym and online for Fit After 40 small group personal training. And again, thank you so much to the women who reached out with questions. I can't tell you how much it means. So if you have your own questions, same thing, hit me up on either of those two resources, email or Instagram, and I'd love to chat. All right, y'all, have a beautiful rest of your day. And until next week, take care of those amazing bodies. You're so stinking worth it. Aroo!